Hey friends! So today we are going to do a foundational yoga sequence that can be done for maintenance pretty much daily. And for this, I'm going to recommend that you have at least a couple of blocks like this, especially if you tend to be hamstring challenged or a bit stable in your hamstrings. I also recommend having a yoga belt or strap. Okay. Usually they're like this. Okay. And then probably we're not going to do too much seated work because seated work tends to be more challenging than standing postures and reclining postures. But if you were to do some seated stretches, I would recommend you getting a chip block. This is like a chip foam block, or even just like a simple blanket like this that you can even fold in half, okay, to sit on, because that's really helpful when you have tighter hamstrings. So stable hamstrings, meaning also a stable lower back, okay? So we'll begin by setting the mat up perfectly, and then in Tadasana. So Tadasana is mountain posture. We're going to do this with our feet placed inner hip bone distance apart, meaning we could draw a straight line from the ASIS or the hip points down through the center of the ankles and out through the second toes, okay? So we want parallel feet here, meaning if we drew a straight line from the center of the ankles out through the second toes, those lines would be parallel to one another, okay? And parallel to the sides of the mat. So I'm not standing like this, or like this, or this, or this. Okay, so we want to stand with our feet hip bone distance parallel, just like this. And now you can play here. The tendency for most of us when we stand is something like this. So hyperextended knees and a sway back, or something like this, which I always call the butt under syndrome. You can see how that's going to impact my posture over time. So we want the tops of the femur bones, which you can find by doing this exercise, just like this. So you'll feel where the top of the femur or the thigh bone is. We want the top of the femur to line up directly over the ankle. So if you're up here, it'll feel weird pulling your weight back. Okay, so we don't want to go so far back that we're on our heels, but we do want the tops of the thighs over ankles. Okay, so I'm going to create that and engage the muscles in my legs, just so they're working, okay? And then this is Tadasana, just like this. All right, so here, I like to begin practice. Normally I'll have students center for like a few minutes, but we're not gonna do that. We are gonna just stand in Tadasana with our hands in Anjali Mudra. Anjali means palm. Mudra is a seal or a gesture. And this allows us to just get really clear and centered, and perhaps to find an intention that we want to be working with. So close your eyes, feel your breath, and see if you can elongate your breath. Most of us tend to breathe into the chest only. So here I'm going to have us place our hands on the lower belly, like so. And you can welcome your breath into your lower belly. And then you can even place your hands on your kidneys, which are about here, and see if you can breathe into your kidneys. And as you expand your breath into your whole torso, just notice what happens. Maybe your mind calms. Maybe you're able to soften a little. And then continue with this breath, seeing if you can lengthen the front of your body, seeing if you can expand and lengthen the back of your body. and the left and the right sides of your body evenly. Feel the way that your feet connect with the earth, the big toe mounds, your outer heels, your inner heels, and your baby toe mounds. And you can even engage subtly the muscles in your legs by hugging your feet energetically toward each other. And then soften. If there is an intention you would like to work with, the sankalpa, you can bring that into your mind and into your heart. Sometimes intentions can be as simple as, I am pain-free, or my body is pain-free. Sometimes they might be a little more complex, like, I am aligned with the greater flow of life, which is actually quite simple too. So I like to repeat intentions 3 times in the present tense. You can repeat it in your mind or out loud, but do it as though the intention were already coming to pass in your life. So present tense, I am, I have, I embody. My shoulders feel good. My hips feel good. My body is pain-free. I am aligned with the greater flow of the universe. And then with your next exhale, release your hands to your sides, okay? So we're gonna begin by coming down to hands and knees, which is called table pose. And if you have a hard time getting on the ground, I'm just gonna encourage you to do your best, use your hands, use furniture if you need to. And so we want to place our hands here directly under the shoulders and wrist creases parallel to the front of the mat. Okay, so if your hands are turning in, turn them out a little so your wrist creases are parallel. How wide do we want to place our hands on the mat? We want to be able to draw a straight line from the outer deltoid. Okay, so the delt is this cap here, like a cap sleeve like I have on. So here, we want to be able to draw a straight line from outer delt through the center of the wrist. Okay, so that's probably wider than you may have been taught before, but that's what's going to give us best alignment. I went to a yoga retreat and I hadn't been on one in decades, literally. And, they were having me bring my hands closer and I started practicing just a little bit more that way and my wrists started hurting. So you need to go with outer delt through the center of the wrist. It's going to be what's best for your wrists, your shoulders, your elbows, okay? Now, from here, have your hands under shoulders, knees under hips. So this is too far back. This is too far forward. So you're going to find a place right in the middle. I am going to encourage you to tuck your toes under. With your inhale, you can begin to broaden your seat behind you. So stick your tush out, melt your belly, melt your heart. So your shoulder blades are on your back. Gaze up. We're going to actually exhale here. Then we'll inhale, beginning with the pelvis and starting to round through the spine, eventually gazing in toward the navel. And again, we're going to exhale here. And then again, inhale, broaden your seat behind you. Really pushing the tops of your femur bones back and apart so you feel your thigh bones connecting to your hip sockets. Exhale here. And then inhale, begin with the tailbone, sending it down toward the backs of your knees, and eventually undulate up the spine, gaze in, exhale. So we'll go like this, spinning a full breath at each place, or half a breath to move, half a breath to hold. And we'll do one more. And then with your next inhale, come back to a neutral spine. So that means you find the place right in the middle. Now feel what it's like to just kick your right ankle out to the side. So you're just going to take it out like a foot maybe. And then reaching your left leg back behind you, pivot your heel to the earth so your whole foot is down on the floor, and bring your left hand to your hip. If you're like, oh, I feel off balance, you can adjust as you need to. We don't want to bring this hand in, okay? Because that's going to misalign the shoulder. So keep the hand wide so your shoulder blade is on your back. This is my shoulder blade off my back. This is my shoulder blade on my back. See the difference? Off, on. So we want the shoulder blade on the back. Feel your breath here. And then you might come back to your sankalpa or your intention. Okay, and you might just hold that in your awareness. Now I'm feeling this in my left side body, and maybe you are too. So what we want to play with doing here, and here my back foot's parallel to the back of the mat. It's not turned out, it's not turned in, just parallel, okay? So what we're going to play with doing is breathing in and hugging our muscles to our bones. So it's like I'm hugging my right knee toward my left foot toward my right knee. I'm engaging my muscles. Then exhale from your pelvis, stretch out through your legs. So you might even take your left hand and move it down toward the foot to open that side, and then spin your heart open. Inhale, stretch your left arm alongside your ear. So if that's hard for you and you have tighter shoulders, you can play here with just shrugging. And so my right hand is getting tired. I'm going to rise up to fingertips. Okay. If that doesn't work, you can do a fist. Okay. So I'm going to reach my left arm forward. Okay. And then inhale, shrug the shoulder toward the ear. Exhale, shoulder blade on the back. And then keep that to sweep the arm alongside the ear. Then you'll really feel it in your side body, and you can kind of curl it back if that feels good, and if it doesn't, don't do it. Okay, so our bodies are constantly telling us what we need to do. They're trying to communicate, giving us signals. Okay, now let's exhale and just circle that around, okay? And then rise up to your fingertips on both sides and just kind of roll side to side through the shoulders a little bit. Then I'm going to spin around. You don't have to. And you can kick your left ankle out to the side and stretch your right leg back. Okay, so same thing here. You want to play with having enough room, the left leg's far enough behind you so you can balance, and then shoulder blade is on the back. Okay, right foot parallel. With an inhale, hug your muscles to your bones. With an exhale, stretch. So reach energy from your pelvis through your right leg to spin your heart, and inhale your arm alongside your ear. Okay. Now again, let's bring the hand forward. Next inhale, shrug up. Exhale, shoulder blade on your back, and then sweep your arm alongside your ear. If you need to do that again, you can. And if you're like, I am not getting that, you can always bring your hand to your hip. Inhale, shrug the shoulder. Exhale, roll your shoulder blade onto your back. Keep it there as you stretch your arm by your ear. We want to spin the baby finger side of the hand toward the earth. Okay, and then you might spin your heart open, you might lean back a little bit, but we want to keep this right femur bone back. Okay, with your next exhale, circle it around and come back to hands and knees. All right, so now walk your hands forward about 6 inches of your shoulders, and you can reach your seat back toward your heels. Now, I don't want to just collapse in the middle like this. So I want to lift the back of the ribs and just reach back. And you can play here with bringing your ears in alignment with your upper arms. Okay. Now from here, I'm going to play with breathing into my back body and then exhaling and coming up to down dog. Okay. If that didn't make sense, we'll do it again together. So I'll inhale down and then I'll exhale, push my weight back to rise up. Adho Mukha Svanasana, which is downward facing dog. Okay, now here, I like to have my feet hip bone distance apart. Okay, and again, they're parallel. So how do you know where your hands and your feet should be in terms of length away from each other? You can just shift your weight forward to plank. Okay, so this is a good plank. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I just find the place right in the middle, okay? And then send my weight back. And then I have to, my ribs like to hang forward. So what I have to do is lift my ribs up into the body to stretch. I might walk my feet forward 1 inch from that. That's about it,
Okay, so downward facing dog. If this is what your down dog looks like, something like this, you need to bend your knees to lift your seat. Okay, you want to keep that as you stretch. If you are hypermobile, meaning you can just do all kinds of crazy things, okay, you want to scoop your tailbone, lift the ribs away from the floor, but the shoulder blades are on the back. So we're going to recreate shoulder blades on the back here. Actually, we'll wait because I know you might not be enjoying this. So let's get out of here. So from here, you can walk your hands back to your feet. Okay, we're going to come back like this. And at this point, if you want to grab blocks to place under your hands, you can. See how the tops of my thighs are directly over ankles? We want to maintain that. So I'll inhale, come up halfway, which is here. And for me, I can exhale, just fold. Okay. If that is not working, because I am hamstring stable, I'm going to have my hands on blocks directly under my shoulders. And I'll inhale here and then exhale, fold. Okay. And if you have a tendency to just stick your bum way out and to rest your ribs on your quads, you're going to play with sending your tailbone down and engaging your abdomen so that you're not just hanging out on your legs. Okay, we want room here, right here. Okay, this could also be a tendency for the bum to go way back. So just keep the tops of the femurs over the ankles. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, fold. Then we're going to inhale, hands to the hips. Okay, elbows in, and then reach through your crown to come up to standing. And then hands to the sides. All right, so from here, you can come back up to the front of your mat. So you might turn around and stand in Tadasana, mountain pose. You can remember your intention and feel your breath. And then feel what it's like to hug your muscles to your bones. Hug your feet energetically toward each other. So let me teach you about that. So this is the midline of the body. It bisects the body. So we want to draw energetically toward the midline because it's where so much power and force lives. So much life force, right? Prana, chi, shakti, any of those words. So when we draw into the midline, we create a sense of cohesion or cohesiveness in the body. And then from here, when we expand from this place, it feels really good. And we're reaching energy along the bones in order to open the muscles. So let's take a wide stance. So this is probably going to be wider than you're used to. Okay. So we want to have the wrists more or less over the ankles and the feet hip bone distance apart and parallel. With your inhale, side body long, so shrug up. Exhale, roll your shoulder blades onto your back and just broaden your collarbones. And if your ribs started hanging out, just pull them in because we want to be really steady through the center. Okay, then stretch your arms out to the sides. We'll turn the palms to face forward. And then here you can play with, again, bringing your hands forward. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, shoulder blades on your back, and then stretch your arms out. Now with an inhale, hug your feet and your hands toward the midline. Now you don't have to do it so hard that you start shaking. So it's just, okay, everything remembers to draw to the center. And then with an exhale, you can energetically stretch along the lines of the bones. So when we hug our muscles to our bones, we're protecting our joints so that we're not hanging out in them. Because we don't want the joints to have to work too hard and we don't want to stretch joints. And then exhale and expand. So just like a starling hugs energy into itself so that it can expand out, that's what we're doing, okay? Now, hands on your hips. Watch this, you're just gonna squiggle your feet, it's a scientific term, squiggle your feet and come back to the middle, just like that. Okay, great. So now we're hugging in to the midline and expanding out from the midline in every shape, okay? And that's gonna help our bodies to be in these shapes in really sustainable ways, okay? So open to your breath. Soften your gaze, your skin. Soften any extra effort that's there. With your next inhale, stretch your arms overhead. I'm going to bring the ears in alignment with the upper arms, and with your exhale, you'll bow forward. So that means if you're using blocks, you're going to have them under your hands right now. You'll inhale, come up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana, and then exhale your left leg back to a lunge. So this is just like a runner's lunge. Okay, I've got 90-degree angle in this front leg. The tendency is something like this. Look at my back leg. So we want to keep the back leg really lifted. And then you can bring your right thumb to your right hip crease and crank it back. So you just made your shape more stable. And then with an inhale, if you feel so called, you can bring your hands to your front thigh. If you're like, no way, just keep your fingertips on the floor. What I'm doing here is pushing down into the front thigh to lift the back thigh. Scoop your tailbone into your body and then inhale. You might reach your arms overhead and breathe. So here, maybe the front knee will be like 90. And if you're not 90 degrees, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Just feel your breath. What I'm doing here is pulling my back foot forward energetically and my front foot back. And then we're going to exhale, lower the hands, place them on the floor, and step back to plank. Okay. So same thing. We'll energetically lift the thighs and lengthen the tailbone toward the heels. And then exhale, shift forward. We're going to come all the way down. If you need to put your knees down, please do. Now this is a weird one, okay? So I'm going to play with spinning my inner thighs up to the sky. If that is weird, listen to these directions and see if it will help, okay? So tuck your right toes under, then spin your inner thigh up to the sky so that you're widening your lower back, and when you point your toes back, they'll be pigeon-toed. Do it on the other side. Tuck the left, spin your inner thigh up to the sky, opposite of ballet legs, okay? And then point your toes back. Now hug your outer ankle bones in, okay? I like to look back at my feet and see if they're evenly placed on the mat, because sometimes they'll be way off to one side and I won't even know. So you might do that too. Now place your hands so that your fingertips are even with your upper chest, current nipple line, as I like to say. Roll your shoulder blades onto your back, and then inhale, pull your hands back energetically. So I'm not just pushing down into the floor. I'm actually lengthening my tailbone toward my heels, pulling the hands back energetically to stretch the heart forward. Now, because I do this multiple times a day, every day, I like to come all the way up here. This is called high cobra, okay? If you're like, there's no way that's happening, then you're gonna just pull your hands back isometrically, lengthen through your crown, and you can come up to here, 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 okay, wherever. Exhale, now tuck your toes. You can bend your knees to come back to down dog. Deepen your breath here. We're gonna do the other leg forward, okay? So with your next, let's do down dog again. So I forgot, bend your elbows 2 inches. Inhale, lift your side ribs up. Exhale, hug your elbows in just a little. So draw them toward each other. And then inhale, hug your hands energetically toward each other. Exhale, stretch your arms straight. You probably feel the activation in your upper back. That's what we want. We want the shoulder blades on the back. Now soften. So from your heart, you can reach out through the bones in your arms, your hands, and up and back through your hips. You want to spread the toes so the arches are lifting, but keep reaching through your heels. So there's elongation in the backs of the legs. Inhaling, step your left foot through between your hands. So if you need to use your hand to bring your foot forward, something like this. Totally cool. Okay, do what you need to do, it's fine. Okay, inhale, lift your back leg energetically. Take your left thumb to your hip crease, crank it back. So I just created more stability. Okay, I'm going to maintain that to come up, or you can keep your fingertips down on the floor. Push down into your front thigh, okay, to lift the back thigh. Scoop your tailbone into your body so you get a lift in your lower abs, and then lift your heart. Inhale, stretch your arms overhead. So you're gonna play with this. I keep lifting the back thigh, wrapping the front buttock under to energetically stretch. Okay, now the shoulders, we still want the shoulder blades on the back. So I just wanna make sure that's happening. With your next exhale, lower your hands. Okay, we're gonna step back again to down dog and just breathe here. And then placing your knees down, walk your hands back so that they're under your shoulders. Feel your breath. Inhale, so your buns out behind you, melt your belly heart. Exhale, we're gonna round through the other way, going a little more quickly. Gaze in, inhale. Widen your seat, melt your belly heart, look up, and then exhale, start with the tailbone, undulate up the spine. Gaze in, we're gonna do this one more time. Inhale, broaden seat. Exhale, round through the spine. Inhale, come back to neutral, okay? Once more, walk your hands forward, reach your seat back, and slowly rise up, downward facing dog. And then with your next exhale, so probably you're not gonna be jumping, but I wanna offer it as an option because maybe you will. So you might bend your knees, look forward. Now here's a trick. You can walk your feet a couple inches forward. So this is physics. I'm just sending energy from my heart out through the bones in my arms to jump. Okay. Now, if you're tighter in your hamstrings, you're gonna have to keep your knees bent. Okay. If you're like, no way, I don't want to jump, then rise up to your fingertips and walk your hands or your feet up to your hands. Put your blocks here and inhale. We'll come up halfway. Exhale, fold. Let's do that again. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale to bow. Inhale, rise to standing. So frame your ears with your upper arms. Come up to standing. And exhale your hands down through the center. Okay, we're gonna do that one more time, just so you've got it in your body, okay? Inhale, reach up. Actually, I'm gonna turn my space heater off. Okay, that's good. We're creating inner heat. All right, inhale, stretch up. So hold your intention in your awareness. Exhale, bow up and over, Uttanasana. Inhale, gaze forward. And exhale, this time we'll go right leg forward or back, okay? So here's a high lunge. We could just say inhale here, and then exhale, place your hands, step back to plank, okay? If you wanted to, you could have your left leg forward, and we could come up. So I'm gonna leave that up to you, okay? Reach your arms up to the sky. Let's do 2 breaths. So you can just keep your fingertips on the floor if you want, and then exhale, lower your hands, and once again, plank. So breathe space into the back of your ribs, and then exhale, shift forward to come down. Spin your inner thighs up to the sky like we did before. Thread your toes, lengthen your tailbone. So that lifts your chest a little. Roll your shoulder blades onto your back, and as you pull your hands back isometrically, which is creating an action without moving anything, okay? So pull your hands back isometrically to send your heart forward and up. And you can look back at each foot just to see that things are even. And then with your exhale, tuck your toes, stretch back, down dog. Allow your breath to deepen and expand. So again, if you have more stable hamstrings, bend your knees, broaden your seat, and really send your hips back. If you're hypermobile, you want to engage more. Draw your abs in, draw your front ribs in, and then inhale, right foot through. So same thing, you might just stay here. So you might keep your fingertips on the ground, play with lifting the back thigh, drawing the front hip back, Or you might bring your hands to your front thigh, keep lifting it as you draw the front hip back and energetically reach through your legs. With your inhale, stretch your arms overhead. So I have to play with like lifting the sides of the waistline up out of the pelvis and then energetically stretching out without collapsing through the midsection. With your next exhale, lower your hands, rock your back foot forward, and inhale, come up halfway, so use your blocks if you need. Exhale, fold, and then inhale, rise up. Stretch your arms overhead. Exhale your hands to Anjali Mudra at your heart. Okay, great. So from here, we can play with an exercise called half Uttanasana, standing forward fold. So we're gonna do this. Usually you can do it at the wall. That's not going to be the greatest for demoing purposes here. So I'm just going to use this desk, okay? So you're going to place a block between your upper inner thighs and set yourself up so that you are in an L shape, okay? So your upper body is parallel to the floor. You'll bend your knees, stick your buns out behind you, and see how that created a curve in my lower back. So if someone's tight in their hamstrings, they're going to be kind of like this in their low back, and it's very compressed. Okay, it does not feel good. I used to be like that. So here, we want to create a broadening through the seat, push the thighs back, and then we can create some tailbone action. But if you are pretty stable and rounded, like you have like a stegosaurus feeling in your low back, like in the sacral lumbar, lower lumbar area, you're gonna want to just keep sticking your tush out, okay? So this you might be feeling in the backs of your legs, okay? From here, I'm just gonna bring my ears even with my upper arm, squeeze the midline, and then come up to standing, just like that. And then you might fold back in, bend your knees. Exhale, soften. Inhale, hug the block, stick your butt out. Exhale, push your thighs back. Inhale, draw the sides of your waistline up and back. Exhale, pause. Inhale up. Okay, full stretch. And then exhale down through the center. Okay, so doing that exercise a few times a day, even just once a day, is actually good. But I would say 2 to 3 times would be really helpful, okay? So from here, we're gonna take standing figure 4, and actually, well, I don't need the block. You will want to use the block probably, and we'll look at this, okay? So I'm gonna mirror you. Please cross your right ankle over your left knee, and we want to work the foot so that we're shortening the baby toe side of the foot. I'm not sickling my foot, like doing something weird like that. I'm not pointing it. We're gonna flex the foot. So it's a point and a flex together, okay? Keep that. Send your hips back behind you, just like this. Now, you're gonna take your, am I mirroring you? Yeah, I'm mirroring you. So you're gonna take your right hand to a block. Take your left hand to the front of the heel. Push your hand into your foot and your foot into your hand and breathe. And if you cannot feel this in your outer hip, the right hip for you, bend your bottom knee more and stick your tush out more. Push your foot and your hand into each other more, and that'll create some resistance to get in there. Deepen your breath. You can always breathe out through your mouth if you need to. So this is getting your outer hips, obviously. Okay, and then with your next inhale, get steady by rooting energy from the core of your pelvis down through your standing leg to come up, and then place the foot. Okay, cross your left ankle over your right knee. Have a yoga seat. Place your left fingertips on the block or hand on the block, and bring your right hand to the sole of your left foot. And push your right hand into your left foot.
and your left hand into your right foot. So you're creating resistance. And the whole idea in creating resistance here, stay with your breath, is one, we're connecting the skin to muscle, muscle to bone, so that the joint is protected. And two, when we stretch out, pushing the foot into the hand, we actually open the muscle without putting the joint at risk. And this is called eccentric action. So we're engaging the muscle to lengthen it. From the core of your pelvis, reach down through your standing leg to rise up.
And place the foot down, and you might shake it out a little bit. You can do like this, gets the hip. Okay, and shake it out. Okay, so probably your hips feel a little bit more open. Awesome. So we want to get into a few standing postures. Okay, so we're going to return to this wide-legged stance as before. Most people that I see, like I just saw, don't get me started, but like some people will go like this wide and try to do a yoga pose, and that's just gonna make me hang out in my hip. It's not good, okay? So go wide with your stance. Even if it's awkward at first, you're gonna train your body to be able to be in healthy alignment and proportions for these shapes, because then you're gonna get the most out of them and they'll be more sustainable over time, okay? So may as well, I say it's not just what you're doing, it's how you're doing it. I didn't make that up, but it's so important, right? Quality, not quantity. So here, I'm not gonna mirror you, just to be clear. So turn your right foot out. It's gonna be parallel to the sides of your yoga mat, okay? Turn your left foot ever so slightly in, maybe like 5 degrees. And with an inhale, just actually see that your right knee is directly over your second and third toes. And breathe. So my hips are not going to be facing directly forward. They're on a slight diagonal in the direction of my feet. Okay. So feel your breath. One thing that I love about the non-dual tantric philosophy that this practice that I practice comes from is it says that all of the possibilities of the universe are lying latent inside of you and me and all beings. We just have to bring them to life. And so the practice is a way that we can bring those possibilities to life. We recognize and get to know actually what we're capable of. So you could hold that in your awareness as you practice. With an inhale, hug your muscles to your bones as you get really bright through your inner body. And then exhale, just bend this right knee toward 90. We're gonna lower the forearm to the thigh, okay? So here, I'm pushing my forearm into the thigh. So feel that. You might feel your adductors, your inner thighs, okay? Muscles. I'm gonna make sure that instead of doing this, see that? I'm doing this. So I'm really plugging the femur bone, which is the thigh bone, into the hip socket, okay? Feel your breath here. Spin your heart open. Stretch your arms so you could go straight up if you tend to be more stable. You could go arm alongside the ear if you're not. You could even put your fingertips on the floor, full shape, okay? So I'm gonna leave that up to you. Feel your breath. So feel what it's like to inhale and hug in, hug your muscles to your bones, hug the midline, and exhale, and from the core of your pelvis, stretch out through the bones in your legs, through your crown, through your fingers. And now to come out, so I'll say I'm here, we'll inhale and rise up. Turn your right foot in, and you might step it back a little. Turn your left foot out. Okay, so now we're ready to do the other side. So same thing, just see, we want the knee to face directly over the second and third toes. The back foot faces slightly in. We'll inhale, hug the midline, and then exhale, bend the front knee. Lower forearm to thigh, okay? And then from here, you can inhale, hug your muscles to your bones, spin your heart open. Exhale from the core of your pelvis, reach out through the bones in your legs and sweep this right arm alongside your ear. Again, if you want to put your fingertips on the floor, you can.
but you don't have to. So again, just feel your breath. If there are muscles that are overworking, you can come out, but you do see if you can hug your muscles to your bones, hug the midline. So the adductors, the inner thighs, we want them to work so that they'll take some pressure off the quads and glutes. So from here, we're gonna inhale, rise up, and bring your hands to your hips. Okay. I'm trying not to make this too long, so we're gonna do a couple more things and then chill out. So turn your left foot slightly in, your right foot out. You wanna have your block handy so that it's directly, well, so that it's just behind your ankle, let's say. It'll be directly under your shoulder. Inhale your arms out to the side. Exhale, soften. Inhale, hug your muscles to your bones as you elongate the sides of your torso, and then exhale, you can just bring your right hand to your block. Now you don't need the block. Maybe you can come all the way down to the earth, okay? But if not, use the block. Push down into the block to spin your heart open. And feel what it's like here to pull your front foot, the right one, back toward your left, to pull your left foot toward the right, and just to breathe here. Shoulder blades are on the back, and if your neck starts bugging, you just bring your hand to your hip, roll your shoulder blade onto your back, look forward. I'm not going to ever try to look up at my hand. I'm spinning my torso open, but the gaze isn't really at the hand. It's just at the sky, wherever my head is when it's in good alignment. That's more important. So this will be a fun one. From the core of your pelvis, really reach out through the bones in the left leg to come up to standing. Hands on the hips, bend your front knee, turn your foot in. Bring this left foot in a little, and then you can turn the right foot out and the right foot in and the left foot out, okay? Hips are gonna be on a slight diagonal, not this much, but not forward, okay? Inhale, arms out to the sides. Exhale, soften. Inhale, hug your muscles to your bones, lengthen the sides of your body, and with your exhale, hopefully you brought your block with you, bring your left hand to your block or stay on your fingertips to keep the shoulder blades on the back body, okay? And stretch your right arm. Okay, so again, if you want, you can bring your right hand to your hip, inhale, shrug, exhale, shoulder blade on the back, and maintain that. Now, to stretch the arm, feel your breath here. And again, if the back thigh is popping forward, just pull it back. So here's one thing that I really like doing. Feel your breath, remember your intention, remember all the possibilities that live in you. Maybe you've forgotten about some of them, so this might help bring them to life. And you're gonna play here with pulling your right foot back, like toward the back, your backside energetically. That's gonna activate your hamstrings and you'll actually feel your right side body more. Now, from your pelvis, really reach through the bones in your legs. See, no hands, and I'm gonna keep that to come up. Hands on your hips, turn your feet to parallel, and then we're just gonna squiggle. You can jump if you want, but squiggling is a little bit easier, or you can do a combination thereof, okay? Now, come back to the front of your mat. So if you're like, oh my God, I'm tired. I mean, I'm feeling this, and I did a practice today, but I'm feeling this, right? So just feel your breath. Let's play with this, and then we'll come down to the floor and then finish. So feel what it's like to pull your right foot back energetically or isometrically. So notice the quality of your hamstring when it's not working, okay? Then you can pull your foot back energetically and feel your hamstring engage. And then do that on the left side so that on both sides your hamstrings are working, okay? So we want to feel that when we're doing these shapes. Generally, the hamstrings will be a little bit weak and they'll be short. So we want to strengthen them and elongate them. That's the idea. So strengthening them will just help when we engage them in the postures, and obviously yoga will lengthen them. Okay, so from here, we're gonna do a little
flow to get into pigeon prep, which will get the outer hip, okay? So inhale, stretch your arms overhead, shoulder blades on your back. Exhale, bow up and over, Uttanasana. Inhale, gaze forward, and then you can bend your knees, place your hands, and step, jump, or walk back to down dog. With your next inhale, we're gonna take the left knee forward and over to the side. So I'm going to the outside of my left wrist, okay? Rise up to your fingertips. Now, you can have quite like a 45-degree angle on this left leg, okay? Then we want the back toes tucked. Now I could just hang out here if I wanted, but that's not the idea. I'm compressing my hip, creating tension, like stretch in a bad way across the back of my sacrum. So it's not where I want to go. I want my sacrum to be level, okay? So eventually you might rise up, go no hands. Okay, don't worry, we're not going to do that for long. And then bring your left fingertips or make a fist and place it under your left shoulder. Bend your right knee, point your toes. You can catch your inner foot maybe and pull it in. Okay, if that is too much, you're going to catch your outer foot and pull it in. If that's too much, I can't help you. No, I'm just kidding. If that's too much, I'll give you something in a minute. Okay, so you're just feeling your breath here. Quad stretch. Okay, and then after this, I'll show you another quad stretch you can do. That's a bit easier. Exhale, let it go. Okay, now check to see that your right leg is parallel to the sides of your yoga mat as you come down to your forearms. Okay, now here again, I'm lifting up through the center, so I'm not just totally collapsing. So I'm going to lift through the center, and I did that a little more. And then from the core of my pelvis, I'll stretch back through this back leg. And that is actually going to allow me to feel the front hip more. See if you can push, as you breathe, the baby toe mound of your left foot. Push it into the ground. So it's like the outer blade of the foot. And just feel your breath here. And then from here, you can inhale, rise up, okay? And then place your palms and step back to down dog. And then inhaling, bring your right knee forward and over to the side, okay? So again, I'm gonna rise up to my fingertips, checking the back leg, making sure it's parallel to the back of the mat, sides of the mat. And then you might go no hands, but you don't have to. And then making a fist or rising up to your right fingertips, take hold of your inner foot. You might bring the foot in and breathe. So here I want to spin my inner body forward. Now, if you're like, no way, don't worry, I'm going to show you a different way to do a quad stretch. That's a bit more basic, but you could even do this like this, and it'd be great. You could even grab a belt and belt this foot. Okay, so there are lots of ways to do this without doing it as full out as a yoga teacher might. And then exhale, just let this go. So back leg parallel, okay? You might lift up and then come on down. And again, so here I'm pushing the blade of the right foot into the earth. And then reaching from my pelvis back through the back leg. So here, yeah, a lot of people learn just to like splat themselves into the pose, and that's not the most skillful way to go about doing this. So hug into the middle, hug into the midline, hug into your center, this place of possibility, the place where you are holding your intention, and exhale, stretch out. From the core of your pelvis, reach back through your heel, forward through your crown. And then with your next inhale, you can press down to come back to downward facing dog. Okay, and just stretch that out. You might walk it out a little bit. So let me show you one more quad stretch. So you'd come on down to the floor, okay?
And then you could prop up, just kind of like this. And take hold of the foot and do a nice quad stretch here. Okay, so this is one way of doing it. And you just want to spin your inner body forward. If you want more, you'll stretch this arm towards straight. That I can feel. Okay, now I've got a weird meniscus tear going on, so I just have to adapt. But I might do this, I'll probably flex this way. Something like that. Okay. So here we want to graze the inner heel to the outer hip. I'm not pulling my foot in toward the midline, like toward the center of the butt. Okay, I want to keep the foot just a tiny bit wider than the outer hip. That's going to be key. And if you're like, pigeon prep does not feel good to me, then you can recline, okay? Cross your ankle over your knee, so left ankle over the right knee, and just draw in like this. Okay. What I'm doing here is I'm actively pushing my knee into my hands, so away from the body, as I'm pulling my legs toward me. So I pull with my arms, my legs toward me, and push my legs away from me using the muscles in the legs. That creates the resistance that we want. That's going to put the stretch in the muscles rather than the tendons and ligaments and joints. And then we'll just switch sides. Okay. I like to have a little bit of a lumbar curve here. We don't want to flatten the back. We don't want to like super big lumbar curve either, like this. Okay, so you don't just find the place in the middle. It's a neutral spine. And so just feel your breath here. So push. So my feet are active, toes are spreading. You can push your knee into your hands as you pull your legs toward you. And then place everything down. And then where did I put my belt? Okay, so last thing, you're going to grab your belt, okay, and you can lasso your foot here, just like this. So check this out. The bottom leg is on the floor. So if this were happening, okay, I would need to back this leg off and ground this thigh to the floor. Okay, and then here, I'm just pushing my foot into the belt. I'm hugging this bottom heel to the midline. So activating my bottom inner thigh and stretching. And just feel your breath. So this is cool. A lot of people just passively pull their leg toward them. We're not doing that. So I'm going to push your leg away from you. So you're pushing your femur bone, your thigh bone toward your hamstrings, which are back here. And that's going to activate this whole shape. Then I want to maintain that as I move my belt into the left hand and stretch my leg off to the left. You can reach your arm alongside your ear. But again, look, this bottom leg did not move. So it's got to hold the intention. It's like, no, I'm solid. Like, what's the intention? I'm staying connected to it even as I move in the world. Now this next one, so we can hold this for a few. The next one is my favorite, but it's a really weird one at first. So we're going to go through these steps, okay? So now I'll inhale this leg back to the center. Take the belt in the right hand. Bend your right knee. Move your upper body and your hips way over to the left, like 6 to 8 inches. And watch this. I'm going to shift my weight and go to my outer right leg. I'm on the outer hip, the outer leg, everything. Okay, I'm holding this belt in my right hand. Then I'm going to bend this left knee, take my thumb in the hip crease, and crank the hip down away from the shoulder. Okay, I might stay here and just spin my upper body open and do a cactus, which is an arm like this, or like a football thingy. that's terrible, a goalpost, there we go. Is the top arm, and then you might stretch this leg straight. I love this one, but the hip, the left hip in this case will tend to hike up. So you're gonna keep cranking it down away from the shoulder. And see if you can get your shoulder on the ground, the left one. And then with the next inhale, so you could be here a few more rounds of breath if you want. And you can also do it with the bent knee. So you'll inhale, come up. Now watch, I'm way over, so I've got to like come back to the midline. And then I'll stretch this right leg straight. Okay, keep the left leg straight as I lower it, and then come into this other side. So again, stretch up through the right leg. If you're just passively doing this, it's not really going to do much for your body except it will bind your hip flexors. So that's not really where we want to go. Just feel your breath here. Remember your intention. Can make any adjustments in the shape. And then you'll take this into the belt, into the right hand, and just take the leg over to the right. You can stretch your left arm alongside your ear. Hug your left heel to the midline. And then create external rotation. So this is cool. If you externally rotate your right leg a little more, the femur bone will deepen into the hip socket. And if you need to bend the knee a little, that's totally fine too. And honestly, my arm's getting tired. And then with your next inhale, you can bring the leg back to the midline, okay? So now bend your left knee and move your body, mostly your hips, but bring your torso with you over to the right, okay? Then you're gonna roll to the outside of your left leg, hip, ankle, and bend your right knee. Take your right thumb to your hip crease. And what I like to do is like push the outside of the left leg into the floor. And then using your right hand, crank your outer hip away from your shoulder. So you're moving it down. Then stretch your leg toward straight. Toward being the key word, it does not have to be straight. And cactus or football goal post your right arm. It should feel pretty awesome. And if it doesn't, it's interesting. You just got to figure a way to make it more comfortable. Sometimes that means, your body's out of alignment. Sometimes it means you just haven't opened these muscles in decades. So you got to discern, is this painful like sensation? Is it sensation that's like good? Or is it pain that my body's trying to tell me not so good? And then from here, you can bend both knees, come back to the center, and then just kind of move, squiggle your way back over, and then keeping this right leg straight, lower the leg down, okay? And then here, stretch your arms and your legs away from each other, okay? And then, oh, that feels so good. So Shavasana is this final shape, okay? In Shavasana, I like to just kind of move my heels as far away from my body as I can, okay? And then just let my feet splay. I'll kind of lengthen the sides of my body, shrug shoulders, shoulder blades on the back, but I don't want to do too much of that. So I'll just find the balance. Arms are 45 degrees-ish away from the body, palms face the sky. And if I were doing an actual Shavasana, I would turn the light out or put an eye pillow over my eyes or something like that so that I could really go into a quiet space. So in yoga, we always end with some kind of meditation or Shavasana. It means corpse pose. It's the place where we relinquish and let go of the practice, trusting that the results of the practice will stay with us and we can let go of everything else. So here we just allow our bodies to get heavy, the bones sinking into the support of the earth.
We can even allow the energetic body or the pranic body to expand beyond the bounds of the skin. So it feels as though we're taking up more space than just our physical bodies do. We allow the weight of the sacrum to sink into the earth. So that is the lower back. So here you can feel as your feet, your legs splay to the sides, that helps to weight the pelvis toward the earth. Allow your upper back to release, your neck and head to release, your jaw to soften so that there is space between your upper and lower teeth. Allow your brow to soften and your eyes to deepen into the hollows of your eye sockets. Allow your whole being to soften. It takes 7 minutes for the nervous system to completely calm and release. So here, if you have 7 minutes, I invite you to it. For the sake of this video, I'm going to call us out. And you can always pause it and call yourself out when you feel the time is right. And I don't mean call yourself out, I mean call yourself out of the shape. So here you can begin to deepen your breath. Invite movements into your fingers, toes, wrists, ankles, arms, legs. You might stretch your arms over your head, your legs in the opposite direction, and then bending your knees. Shift your weight to shift hips left as you roll to the right. So we're going to come into a fetal shape. And then use your hands to push down into the earth and come up to sitting. And I will always grab something and place it under my buns. If you're sitting, you're going to take one hand to the inner thigh, one hand to the buttock, spin the inseam of your thigh down as you widen your buttock behind you. Do that on both sides. I'll be right there, low key. And then fold your hands to Anjali Mudra at your heart center. So may we continue to participate in the practices that allow us to be the beings we came to this planet to be. And may we breathe that to life through all we're doing here. And I thank you so much for sharing this practice with me. I bow to you. Namaste. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you feel great. If you have questions, you can always get in touch with me and let me know. Okay. So I'm going to stop this recording, but maybe I'll see you soon.